Hello, today I'm going to be going over the Etude portion for the 9-10 Region Violin Audition for 2021. My name is Miss Rex. I'm the orchestra director over at Riverside Middle, and I'm also the violin teacher professor at North Greenville University. So this Etude is in 3/4 time with triplets. It's got a lot of chromatic notes, and what I'm going to do first is play it nice and slow. And then I will go through and show you some practice tips, some places that you might want to pay attention to for practicing. And then I will play it quickly so that you can play along with it. I will put in the description box the timing for the playthrough at tempo, and I'll do it with the metronome so that you can play along with that if you are further along in your practicing. So first I'm going to play it nice and slow. Okay, 1, 2, 3. So I had a little bit of a brain poo moment there, so I apologize for that. But other than that, that's basically how it goes. Notice on the first line there are no slurs, and in the second line there are slurs. If you're practicing, I highly advise leaving out the slurs until you feel good about the left hand in the second line. Okay? All right, so in the first line, you need to know, first of all, the key signature, 3 sharps, F sharp, C sharp, and G sharp. It's going to be a lot of high finger patterns, so you're going to need, in first position, to really stretch that 3 in particular. So if you're not used to finger patterns, this is something you're going to really need to work on. If you're one of my former kids, this should be pretty easy for you. Okay, so first measure, you've got those C sharps on the G string, so you're really going to have to stretch third finger. Now the last 3 notes are A, B, B sharp. That's the same as C natural. And then the next measure starts on a C sharp. Okay? So all you have to do is play C natural and then scoot your second finger ahead for C sharp. Should be really easy. Okay? C natural, C sharp, B sharp, C sharp. That's all that is. Okay? That's all that is. All right. So just scooch it forward. Okay? So play the last 3 notes of the first measure. Open 1, half step to 2. Good. Now the next bar starts on C sharp. Scoot your 2 forward, G sharp, and then a very fun note, E sharp, which is the same as F natural. Now I would not play this with a 2. C sharp, G sharp, and then I would put F natural right here behind C sharp. I would not go 2, 3, and then try to scoot your 2 backwards. That's going to be a big old mess, okay? Yeah, you're really going to play out of tune doing that. Plus, you want to keep this E sharp down throughout the whole second half of that measure so that you can be in tune when you have to go back to it. All right, now, how to get your E sharp in tune? Put down C sharp, okay? And now put your E sharp right behind it, but not super close. If you go too close, yeah, that's really out of tune. Remember, in first position, your half steps don't have to be super, super tight, okay? Some of you thought that when you first started playing, but now that you're in high school, you don't have to do that. Now leave that down, so now you can play the first 3 notes of that measure, C, G sharp, E sharp. Now next 3 notes, leave those fingers down. So the people who are going to be successful can leave these 2 fingers down for the first 6 notes of that measure, for 7 notes. I actually leave them down for the whole bar. I just do. So you may not want to do that, but leaving fingers down is going to be super important. If you have trouble with that, you're going to need to swing your elbow underneath your fiddle a little more, okay? So underneath your violin, bring your elbow under and make sure you bring your thumb more like underneath here instead of up on the side, because it probably is going to hurt to leave them down if you do that. Just swing your elbow, it fixes all that, okay? So 2, 3, 1, stretch C sharp, D sharp, stretch, E sharp. Now, you may not have a long enough pinky finger to reach E sharp. It's the same as F natural. You can always play it over here on the E string with a low 1, okay? You know your hand. I don't. So you have to decide. I happen to have pretty long fingers for a girl, so it works out for me. But you may have shorter fingers. Guy, girl, doesn't matter, okay? So you may have shorter fingers. So you can always reach back for that F natural, so you can play it 2 ways. The last 3 notes, 2, 3, stretch, or 2. It's the same note. One just sounds a little brighter because it's on the E string. It's not going to matter when you go up to tempo. It's really not, okay? All right, now the third measure, that one's pretty easy, okay? Just a lot of open A's. G sharp, make sure you do that. Last measure on the first line, stretch D sharp. Now, last 3 notes, looks like a B. Some of you would say, oh, I'm going to go to 3rd position. No, you need to go to 4th. So you're going to have to practice shifting, going 1, 4, 1, 1, okay? And make it light. Light, especially with that thumb and the fingertip. Now, the best way to practice all that shifting is not just to do that over and over. That's great, but you need to back up and get into it. So what I do is I start 3 notes before I have to shift. So I'm on measure 4, the second group of 3 notes. 1. Remember, it's D sharp, stretch. And you want to do that, see if you can get it in tune maybe like 5 to 10 times in a row, okay? But also keep this thumb light and your fingertip light. Okay? All right, so now 1, B, C sharp whole step, D sharp whole step, and now you're on E. You're on the next line, okay? So starting on the next line, you can play 4, open, and stay in 4th position, or you can play 4, 1. It's totally up to you. I play a 1, but you have to know what you can get in tune and what you're more comfortable with, okay? I just like the sound of the 1. I'm not a big fan of open E, but it's not going to bother me. And if I was listening to an audition and it was clean and in tune, I'm not going to care, okay? So practice that there. So 4, 1 are open, slur, that's a slur, 1 to 3. I know it's a little weird looking, it doesn't look like a slur, but because of that big jump, the slur up there is a little strange. So you got to pull your 3rd finger back from D sharp to D natural. So 2 and 3 are going to touch, and you're going to go 4, 1, 1, 1, 3, 2, 1, and then shift back to 1st position on that 3rd finger, A. Okay, now if you don't like that fingering, you could stay in 3rd, but notice it's a little harder to play in tune. But whatever you want to do is fine. You could stretch back for D sharp and then go back to 1st position. If your teacher or your private teacher or your high school teacher gives you a different fingering, it's fine with me. I don't care. Everybody just wants it to be in tune, okay? And sometimes your hand works differently for different people. Sometimes fingerings that work for me don't always work for my students. So I'm just trying to give you suggestions, okay? So in the second measure of the second line, I suggest that you shift, or you're already in 1st position, so play a 4, now play open. Open, 2, 2, 2, 1, 1, 4. I don't suggest for open E in that last measure, okay? Now, one more little practice tip that's really going to help. Too many times with an etude like this, people want to just practice from the beginning to the end, and if they make mistakes, they make mistakes. That's a bad idea. So my suggestion to you is don't always start on the 1st measure, okay? Sometimes start on the 3rd measure, start on the last measure, and work backwards. Not literally, but work backwards 1 measure at a time. Biggest thing you can do is put rests in between the notes to help your fingers memorize where to go. What are you talking about? Here's what I'm talking about. I'm going to start on the 1st measure. Rest, rest, rest. Rest, rest, rest. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, etc. Now take it down to one rest in between. Whoops, sorry, fourth finger. Rest, 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 rest. And you should do this with a metronome. So for example, here's the metronome. I've got it on 84. Okay, you probably want to start slower if you're just starting off, unless you're a real whiz at reading these notes, okay? Because what you don't want to do is get over to the fourth measure and go, oh, sorry. Right, and go really slow. You don't want to do that, okay? So I actually will slow it down for you guys so that you can see how it works with a nice slow tempo. So I'm at 70, and I'm going to do the fourth measure. Rest, 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 etc. Okay? Now what you'd want to do is go back and do the whole measure with rests in between. So for example, I'll start on that fourth measure again. Oops, sorry, excuse me. Rest, rest, rest. Okay, try it again. Okay, so now 2 rests in between each measure. Okay, so, and then you would get down to 1 rest per measure. So for example, like this, okay, so now it does say quarter note equals 100, which is really fast, okay? I think if you play it at quarter note equals 90 and you play it in tune, you're going to be in good shape, but that's just my opinion, okay? So here's the etude practice with the rests at tempo. This is going to help you see where you're having problems. It's going to help you to see where your fingers are still tripping over each other. It's going to see where your tone's not the best. It's going to really help a lot of stuff out, okay? And then the same with the whole measure. Okay, all right. So now I'm going to play the entire etude up to tempo. I hope I don't make any mistakes. Fingers crossed. 1, 2, and. Hey, I made it. All right, so there you go. I hope that's helpful. Have a great day. Thanks.